So we know that there are hard days on the battlefield. That's been clear. You've been watching updates about Pokrovsk for the last week. It is November 8th, 2025. My name is Aaron Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. Last night, the Russians hit Ukraine particularly hard with a pretty massive attack. The last few days, it's been low, 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 and then here's a massive attack of 450, but it's mostly missiles that did the damage, and I'll show you what I mean by that. By the way, last night, as I was monitoring this, I put out a short just explaining, like, look, 5 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles have already hit. We're keeping an eye on that. We'll see you tomorrow. Are shorts helpful to you? Like, if I do shorts that are only like timely updates about what's going on right that moment, is that helpful? Put that in the comments below. I'm trying to provide what I can, and if that's helpful, that's helpful. If it's not, it's not. Okay. HUR drones, this is what Ukraine was doing to Russia last night. HUR drones, Ukrainian military intelligence, struck a petrochemical plant in Bashkortostan. A fire broke out in the workshop producing agadol, an additive for aviation fuel. And this is the image of that, was struck, the petrochemical plant. And then you'd see things like this. They struck the Saratov oil refinery that came under attack. Get over here fast and bring binoculars. Ukrainian drones paid a visit to Saratov overnight. Explosive rocked Saratov during the night. 2 people were injured. Several houses and cars were damaged. Ukrainian monitoring channels report that the Saratov oil refinery came under attack. I haven't seen images of the refinery, but that will be forthcoming if they hit something significant. Yesterday, Ukraine Special Operations Forces also attacked drones successfully. They also targeted Russian S-400 SAM battery outside the village of Utny. I think that's correct, Crimea. Seen here, a Ukrainian FP2 flies into a loaded Russian 5P8 5SM2 TEL, destroying it. This is where this was happening, and here's the actual footage of it as the drone is targeting this SAM system, or this S-400 system. Okay. Now, what did the Russians do to the Ukrainians? So what I just described is, like, that could have been the headline, but the real headline last night was that there were 450 drones and then another 45 missiles for over 500 drones and missiles total being targeted at Ukraine. This is the bigger story. It's unfortunate. I hate to have to do that, but you have to see the big picture, the whole picture. So what was shot down? Well, let's look at this. Shahed and other drones, they shot down 88.6%. That's not a bad rate. That's reasonable. Various missiles, 9 out of 45 shot down for 25 or 20%. And if you break that down, like 55% of Iskander M's, 22% of Iskander K, KH-47M2 Kinzhal, those are the hypersonics, I believe, and that's only 15% were shot down, and so that's like 1 out of the 7, and a caliber 6.7%. Yeah, it's bad. Here's what it looked like. And again, when they're shooting down, like, what's going to have more of an effect? The drones or the missiles, right? The missiles are going to have a much more powerful effect. And there's a story to why they did what they did last night, or how many they did last night as well. So I'll show you that. So first thing, notice that Kyiv is not really hit all that hard. There's lots of drones going into many, many different places, including places like Dnipro, which drones are coming from multiple directions here. They're coming from here, they're coming from here, they're coming from here, and you see the missiles coming this way. These are missiles in orange. They're coming from here as well. Like, so you're seeing a lot going to attack particular places. Air Force spokesperson Yuri Inhad says Russia has sharply shifted tactics, now focusing massive strikes on Ukraine's energy and gas infrastructure. They've been doing that for some time, right? But that was the story of what happened last night. Why 450 and why 450 drones and another 50 missiles? Because they're going after energy. They're trying to de-energize Ukraine. Another T attack on our cities. The enemy wants to leave us without light or heat. So there were attacks on civilians, but those seem to be less intense. I know that's hard to even say in this context, but less intense than what you otherwise would have seen. All other things being equal, Shahed drones slammed into a high-rise in Dnipro. The strike destroyed multiple apartments from the second to the sixth floors across two entrances. At least two people are now confirmed dead. I just want you to listen to this. That's what it sounds like. Okay, so that's what they were experiencing last night. Here are just some images of the rescue workers trying to get things done, some video of the rescue workers trying to put out the fire and save people. Like, they're just sleeping in their homes. Like, this is at night. There's no NATO generals here. Okay. Russia strikes key railway depot in Poltava region, threatening transport links between Kyiv and eastern Ukraine. You know, the Ukrainians do this to Russia regularly. The Russians can do it too, and they have. Overnight attack hit one of the country's critical transit hubs. Damage to the trains and locomotives may force a reduction in routes. Okay, so here's the big story, and I just highlighted what they were actually going after. Massive strike on Ukraine, energy system under attack again. Ukraine faced one of the most powerful attacks in recent months. Dozens of missiles, 50 or so, power outages in Dnipro, destruction and casualties, 11 people injured, including a 13-year-old girl wounded in Kharkiv, a gas station in Kyiv, power cuts in Poltava and Kirovograd regions, electricity in Odessa and Mykolaiv, energy and industrial facilities. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about going after power, and you know, if we can hit civilian population at the same time, all the better, is I suppose what they're thinking. Okay, horror in Dnipro last night. Dozens of people run for cover as a Russian Shahed hits the train station. Okay, this is a Shahed coming in, and so you're going to see. Let's go to about 5 seconds. Oh, sorry. 5 seconds. See, you can see the blast off in the distance. So I'm going to just show you the first 4 seconds. Yeah, so that's what that is happening. You heard that. That's got to be terrifying to hear. Okay, Zelensky has appointed Colonel Yuri Cherenchenko on the right as the commander of the Unmanned Air Defense System, a pioneer of Ukraine's first rapid response air defense brigades. Cherenchenko has worked as interceptor drones and will now scale unmanned capabilities across the Air Force. He seems like he's a competent guy as far as I can tell. Now, these interceptor drones, they're going to be very important, and they'll help with the drones, not so much the missiles. You really need larger missile systems, and for ballistic missiles, even Patriot systems to be able to counter that. A Russian propagandist were talking about no heat in Kyiv, and let's look at this. We struck. Well, sorry about that. There we go. We struck Kyiv, no heating in Kyiv, no water. I think that's good or bad? I think it's good. He's talking about a little bit later. We're continuing to raise funds for the needs of the Belgorod region because Kyiv can strike back. We'll be buying devices that allow heating, that allow cooking food, basically everything needed for those two. Sorry, there are refugees that are living in households affected by blackouts. Well, what do you think you're doing to to Ukraine every night, Russia? Like, what do you think you're doing? So Kyiv can do it back to you. Okay, on the battlefield, let's look at this. 1,190 off the battlefield. Again, the average has been about 1,000, so it's been high for the last four days or so. Okay, no tanks, 20 artillery pieces, NLRS, 3 of those, 1 APV, 250 when we're talking about like drones, and then 72 vehicles and fuel tanks. So the battlefield's still hot, big casualties for the 3rd day in a row, engagement slightly above the 7-day average. Pokrovsk sector, 59 assaults. Again, I'm not decoupling this like I did yesterday. I can cover this, I think, today in this one. They've partially infiltrated. Chief of the General Staff reports on the Russian advantage in Pokrovsk direction. Russian forces have infiltrated southern Pokrovsk. They're trying to encircle the city with as many thousand strong grouping. This is no surprise. And remember, the Ukrainians have this small pocket here where they can kind of maybe get out. and that's covered by FPV drones. But there's all this fighting inside here, and these gray areas are areas that is like really contested in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. Okay. First time in a year, a Russian truck entered Pokrovsk under cover of Thursday's fog. Thursday they used that to their advantage because of the fog. The weather is going to be an important factor. Ukraine's exhausted garrison, outnumbered 5-1 with no fresh troops, can't defend every gap anymore, and so they're exploiting that. How long can they bleed the Russians? That's the question. Russian forces continue to advance in the Pokrovsk direction and are reportedly extending logistics into southern Pokrovsk. This is according to the ISW. And they also advance into Konstantinivka and Liman and Novopolivka and other places as well. Russia claims it has captured more than 60 buildings in Pokrovsk as house-to-house fighting is reportedly raging in the strategic city. It's not a strategic city. This is Radio Free Europe. It's a good source, but it's not strategic. It's important. It's operational. It's tactical. It's something that Russia really wants, but not strategic in the sense that if Pokrovsk falls, it's all over. Kyiv admits the situation is difficult, but says its troops are still fighting and they're not surrounded. They're not surrounded, but they kind of are if you include the FPV drone, the area that they're going to have to run through, but it's not surrounded by troops completely. Russia's Sverdlovsk. Let's shift gears here and talk about a couple last little stories. In Russia's Sverdlovsk, a man is facing up to a decade in prison under new law that punishes online search activity. Searching for extremist content, a 20-year-old medical professional has been charged but claims to have briefly searched for a Ukrainian topic but decided it wasn't for him. The court proceedings are ongoing. That's kind of crazy. Okay. A video from Odessa is going viral. It shows a dog happily swinging back and forth, clearly living its best life. I just thought I'd try to show something uplifting, and the dog's just enjoying himself, right? And then there's this. This is a Ukrainian defender delivers a powerful speech after winning an MMA tournament. So let's just look at this. Ukraine's defender Pavlo Savitsky returned to the octagon after very serious injuries, and he says, I can stand on my own 2 feet and fight with both hands. After the win, he announced that his upcoming deployment to Pokrovsk. Thank you for your attention and your applause, he said. 2 years ago, I couldn't even walk. And tomorrow I'm going to Pokrovsk. Maybe this will be my last fight. Who knows? Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for your support. It means a lot to me. That's pretty hardcore that he's doing that. Okay. Yesterday, I was talking about Jake Bro's update about 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. It's now 9:30 a.m. Let's see where his fundraiser is. It's now at 779,497.67 at 9:30 in the morning. If you care to donate, the link will be below. Thank you for your time, my friends. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person who cares about Ukraine.